Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alice Yang. I'm the Director of the Office of International Programs and a Senior International Officer. It's wonderful to see all of you here as we celebrate International Education Week. It's a time to recognize how global learning and cultural exchange can enrich our campus and community. On behalf of the Office of International Programs, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this 2025 IEW Keynote Speech and Global Engagement panel. Now I'm pleased to invite our dear President, Dr. George Grant Jr., to say a few words to welcome everyone.
Thank you, Alice. Good afternoon. Good to see you all here, and I see you got your pizza. All right. That was important. Speaker said they weren't going to eat pizza until afterwards, so I tried to encourage them. Well, thank you all. This is exciting. Pat in his address, and the idea, I think, for all of us, and I think why we're here, is that we believe in the world as one place, and that there's these ideas, and that how do we take our ideas and share them with someone else, and they share their ideas with us. We had visitors yesterday from India, and they were talking about how they do things and the programs that they have and the relationships that we can build. And so this is an opportunity. This continues this week, Education Week, International Education Week, continues to be a time to show our commitment to the larger world, our commitment to saying there are other ways that we can think about things and we can do things and we can share information, and why can't we come together? And higher education is one of those avenues that allows that to happen. So as students, as we share information, as faculty and staff, we share information with each other, our engagement in the community, it only makes us stronger. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your commitment to international education. Thank you for your commitment to making a difference for this campus, for our faculty, staff, and students, and for the community. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Grant, for your continued support for international education and global engagement on this campus. Thank you. The annual International Education Week, IEW, started in 2000. It was a joint initiative by the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Education. Now, IEW is celebrated in more than 100 countries. IEW aims to promote international education and exchange, encourage students to study abroad and explore the world, celebrate the contributions of international students and scholars in the United States, showcase how international education strengthens global connections, cultural competence, and mutual understanding, and world peace. I want to take this opportunity to introduce the Office of International Programs team to you. So our team member, please stand up. So how about you introduce yourself, Pat?
International Student Advisor.
I'm Cal Spencer, I'm the Study Abroad Coordinator. I'm Jennifer Garash, I'm the International Student Advisor. I'm Tina Beagle, I'm the Office Coordinator.
Thank you. We have another member, Colin Glenn, is the International Partnership Coordinator. He's now on the way to send off our Indian guests to the airport. So I really want to thank all of you to organizing wonderful IEW events and offer opportunities for students to be engaged in this community. So please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And our guest, Louise Chen, just stepped in. She also made great contributions to our campus internationalization in many years in the past. Welcome. And we also have our student assistants here with us. Do you want to please stand up? Thank you for your contribution as well. Thank you. So now it's my great honor to introduce our 2025 keynote speaker, Dr. Pat Shelley. Dr. Charles Pat Shelley came to SVSU nearly 20 years ago, after 35 years as an elementary school principal with the Saginaw Public Schools. He graduated with a double major in German and education from Alma College in 1970 and went on to Michigan State University for his master's and PhD degrees in educational administration and curriculum. He spent his junior year of college at the Philipps Universität in Marburg an der Lahn, Germany. I made it. His work as an international student advisor with the Office of International Programs at SVSU has provided him many connections with international students and some additional travel opportunities. Pat is the first SVSU employee that I have ever met. He went to the MBS airport in June 2024 to pick me up for my job interview here. So I will never forget that. Thank you, Pat. Now your time to share your experience with us. Thank you, Pat.
President Grant's kind of summed up everything I wanted to say. So, never doubt. This quote from Margaret Mead. I went to look it up, and I found dozens and dozens of versions of this, and I picked this one as one. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So, who are these people? Who are these dedicated, committed citizens? And where do they come from? I found out in Germany, the storks really do exist. But as just recently, I heard a speaker at a Rotary meeting that was district-wide, who came to us from Maine to give the speech, primarily about polio plus. Rotary clubs are trying to eradicate polio throughout the world. And part of his speech, because he's dedicated his life, 40-some years, to local community government, even though he's at the national level with Rotary and helping with their biggest project, he's remained there in his small town in Maine, and his quote was, "Nothing is done unless it's done by local people." And what do people do? I mean, what's great significant stuff they do? Well, they get together like we did at the Nepali Festival is just one example, and they talk and they sing and they dance and they eat and they drink and they help one another. So why not this group? Here you go. Here's a group of dedicated people. Hopefully you see there that we got the last slide in. And here's our panel members. And so I want to be telling you about, and pardon me for having all these notes here, and let me give one more disclaimer. Pardon me for some really corny jokes that are going to come up here before we're done. Okay, so anyway, I want to tell about a little bit about my experience with diversity, equity, inclusion, but it includes all of you. And a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., "We must speak with all the humility that is appropriate to our limited vision, but we must all speak." You can just as well tell your own story and how your life has changed your world. And believe it or not, there are friendly people in the world. If you don't know very many, you can be one. Peace is more than just calm. It's excitement, it's emotion, it's spirit, it's enthusiasm. And to quote from a poem that I wrote when I was in high school, "It's more than just an end to war or peace serene and dear. I like to face the wind and rain. I only seek less fear." And the name of the poem was "All fat men are not Santa Claus." And in order to accomplish this, we need a sense of humor, which to me is a sense of being human. You've heard of dad humor and bad joke humor. And so when do bad jokes become dad jokes? When they become apparent. Thank you. I needed a bump. Okay. Just recently, I'm glad today is the day I'm giving it and it'll be over with, because everywhere I was going in the last few weeks, I was getting more and more ideas. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, this thing has to end sometime, So it'll end with my presentation. But I recently heard speeches at the Rotary Gala, the one I referred to, the Gerstacker Fellows Symposium. That was smooth. Those participants all got up and gave their speeches, and then Eric Gardner's speech not so long ago about his book that he just wrote and the panel that followed. Too much competition for me to try to emulate what they did, but just to say that those people are out there and doing a great job. So why not this group? Why not yourselves? I've gone through 3 stages in my life. Okay, when I was very little, I believed in Santa Claus. And then when I became a parent, I was Santa Claus, And now that I'm much older, I look like Santa Claus. So I'm an international student advisor. I like helping people. I've got a shirt over there that says, I'm here to help you and keep you legal. One of our students actually had that shirt made for me. It's the kind of job that if the university didn't pay me to do it, Dr. Grant's not here, is he? I might consider paying them to let me do it. But what this is all about is connections, connecting the dots. Do you remember when you had those books, they look like coloring books, and you'd go from 1 to 2 to 3 and connect all the dots, and in the end there was some sort of a collective picture there? Well, there's a lot of dots out there for us to connect. It started for me with the Saginaw Public Schools, and I don't mean just as working for them, actually as a student, as an elementary school student. When my family first moved from Pennsylvania to Michigan when I was about 7 years old, and that was my first experience with a foreign language. Because I came from Pennsylvania saying moon and spoon and iron and wash, and I got teased, and so I learned to speak like people in Michigan. So like people in Michigan was my first foreign language. And I remember back in the 4th grade, they signed us up with Sister City pen pals, and I had a young lady named Chitsu Takamatsu. When I was over in Tokushima recently, nobody seemed to know her, so I never met her, but we did exchange probably about a year's worth or more of letters. And then my first German lesson was actually in this school that's in the picture here, and when I was in the 6th grade. And then in high school, I met exchange students with this not so clear picture from the yearbook is of some of the exchange students and the German club that was there. An interesting thing is one of the other young ladies in that picture is also an adjunct professor here at Saginaw Valley State University in the nursing department. So small world. You're going to hear that a little bit too in this small world. And then when I was in Saginaw High, I went to Youth for Understanding in a little town, Neustadt am Rübenberge, which is near Hanover, Germany. And I lived there for 7 weeks with a family. And then I went back as a study abroad later in my junior year of college. And so Youth for Understanding is is another group of people that is making a difference. They're going to change the world. Here's a yearbook picture of some Youth for Understanding students from Uruguay and Finland and Germany and Greece, all over. Just a few weeks ago, not even way back then, but just a few weeks ago, this group of people working here in the food kitchen, the East Side Soup Kitchen, were here from Munich. They came through the Youth for Understanding program. And And I do have some yearbooks over there if anybody wants to see a better picture than that. The Boy Scouts, it's another group that they make a difference. There's another connection. They have their Citizenship in the World Merit Badge. And they work on what a good citizen each person is, depending on his willingness to understand and appreciate the values and tradition of people in other countries. They have their World Jamborees. I remember when I was out at the Philmont Scout Ranch, we ran across a whole troop of students from Japan, and that's the first time I learned to say konnichiwa. And then locally here, we have Camp Rotary, which is just up in Clare, Michigan, where the property is owned by our local Rotary Club, and attended from all over the district, all over the state, and even some out of state. I wasn't going to mention religion at first, but then I thought, well, why not? This spurred me on when I saw this as an insert in one of the church bulletins that I recently attended. And I remembered that back quite a few years ago, I went to some ecumenical services here, which means people from different religions getting together. And if you want to mark your calendars, the next one is coming up November 23rd, 3 p.m., and the address is 3617 Mackinac. So you'll see Dr. Akbar and some other people you might know that'll be attending that. And it's that people get together from Islam, Judaism, Catholicism, Protestantism, finding a lot in common. When I went to Alma College, another place where there were people connecting, and one of the main connections for me turned out to be my roommate. His name was Benga Oradane. He was studying biology. He went on to become a medical doctor, worked in the Washington, D.C. area, graduated from Howard University. He came over knowing how to play ping pong. He had never played tennis, but he went out for the tennis team, and he had so many garbage shots that he became number one on the tennis team. And these two dolls that you see here were a gift from him from Nigeria, where he originally came from. And then in my junior year, I went to Millersburg State College in Marburg an der Lahn. You did a good job, Alice, with that. Thank you. And it was on a Rotary Club scholarship. Again, these connections, Rotary Club, Scouts, study abroad, they all seem to come together with people who are out there doing what they do to make a difference. So this is where I studied. The building on the top is the castle from the 1100s. Not much in it. It's just a big building up there. But it was how I got my exercise running up and down that hill. It was a good workout. And I learned a lot. I learned German. I studied German. That was my major. It made sense while I was there. Going back to when I first started teaching, I ran across this quote, and I still have it in my office. And it's simply, they won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so some of the places I worked in my career where people were also making a difference, I was 17 years at Furbringer Elementary School, and one of the theme songs there, not the school song necessarily, but a theme song that I think they sang more often than the school song was, "It's a small world after all, it's a small world." If anybody's been to Disneyland, it drives you crazy when you hear it. And Jerome School, and I wasn't there quite as long as at Furbringer, but very good experience. And one of the things when we were promoting our school at an open house district-wide was to talk about our diversity, because we not only had a diverse student population, but we had teachers from 6 different continents. There weren't any penguins, so we didn't have 7 continents. But from all over. And example of a couple people I met just a couple weeks ago. These people keep reappearing, too. It isn't like they were there and went away. Yoneko Miyamoto. Now, Yoneko isn't really from Japan. She's 4th generation. She grew up in Detroit, but she's still got the Japanese name and her heritage. And then Lisa Eline, who really was from Australia, and actually she went back home, but she came back to visit a couple weeks ago. And then Zilwaukee School. Zilwaukee School, I was principal. That was my bookend school. I started there as a principal, and I ended there as a principal, and all those other schools were in between. And of course, you can't talk about Zilwaukee without talking about the bridge. Kind of reminded me when Dr. Jing Chang gave a speech here, and she was talking about bridging the cultures and the economies of the different countries. Well, we did the same thing, and we made Zilwaukee School an international school, and it became my first contact with Saginaw Valley State University. When I was there as a principal, I came over here and met the International Student Club and said, how would some of you like to come back to my elementary school and talk about your countries in the different classrooms? And so that was one of the ways that I got started with my connection here. And somebody might say, Zilwaukee, where did that come from? Well, the story is, and I hear it everywhere, so it must be true, that the people said, well, let's call it Zilwaukee because it sounds like Milwaukee, and some people might make a mistake and come here. And I was just talking to someone who's in the Ollie office over here that lives in Zilwaukee, and her family's still here. And community theater. Maybe they're making a difference. Maybe they're part of the connection. One of the plays, I was in 25 different plays. 24 of them were musicals. One was a straight play that was directed by Jerry Dennis, who happens to be the technical director here at Saginaw Valley State University and the set builder. But one of the plays that came to mind for talking about international relations was The King and I. And so that's me and The King and I. We took this out to some of the schools to tell students about community theater. And I said, any questions? And one student says, has your head always looked like that? I said, well, yes. Now that I think about it, I was born that way. And so then because of the theater stuff, I sometimes say, well, there's not an original thought in my head. A lot of quotes and stuff I say come from plays and songs and things like that. And one of them, for example, that's in the play, the king summons Anna and says, I want you to send some elephants to President Lincoln. Write a letter. And this is the middle of the night. And she goes, now? And he says, yes, now is always the best time. Rotary Club. Rotary International. Thousands of clubs all over the world. Just on recent trips, I met Rotarians in Germany. I met Rotarians in Taiwan. They were the ones who actually helped to sponsor my junior year abroad. And one of our students who graduated from Saginaw Valley, Anhal Kozaya from Lebanon, became, when he went back, the youngest Rotary Club president in the world. And he's certainly got an uphill battle there trying to promote the programs of Rotary in a war-torn country and all that. But it's one of ours. He was here only one semester, but made a big impact on us and us on him. And then the biggest project, probably worldwide for Rotary, although they do scholarships and clean water and literacy and exchange programs, is the Polio Plus. They continue to work to try to eradicate polio in every country of the world, and they have it narrowed down to 2 countries. Oh, and then there's my friends up in Bay City, the Donk Club, okay? The German-American National Congress, okay? And what they sing throughout their business meeting and throughout the night is ein Prosit, der Gemütlichkeit. Okay, a good drinking song. I actually bought a Stanley mug that looks like a German Stein. I bought it in Japan. Go figure. And if you get a chance to look over there later, you'll see mein Hut, my hat, okay, which has a lot of pins and stuff on it. But the point being, here's another connection. Here's people who are making a difference in promoting the international and the African Cultural Festival right here in Saginaw. 40-some years, almost 50, I think, they have been around. So over there on my table, you'll see a drum that I bought there. You'll see a hat that I bought there. Those were all sold by people who came from Africa, and they came up from Detroit, and they were selling their goods there. And I use the drum to celebrate whenever we have something that really, hey, we put something through for a student to help them out. You'll hear me pounding on the drum in my office. The drum was from Senegal, the cap was from Gambia. And artwork. People who are artists make a difference. In Saginaw, you'll see the silos that are painted. Those muralists came from Spain, and they worked with local people to decorate the silos. They look like just farm silos. They're beautifully colorful. And then this one here, our Sumaya, our guest student from Tunisia, entered the watercoloring contest here at Saginaw Valley, and in 6 hours, less than 6 hours, she sketched and painted and colored with watercolors, and you can't see so much from a distance, but these are scenes around Saginaw Valley State University. Who else? Well, here at Saginaw Valley, I started with the German and ELP program, and then I became an international student advisor shortly after that. And I told everybody in the interview that I was going to stay 5 years, and that was almost 20 years ago. So I failed retirement. Oops. I've learned so much from my mistakes, I'm thinking of making a few more. People who take foreign languages make a difference. I've been teaching German, beginning German, 111 and 112 since my start at SVSU. And I was also teaching English as a second language. And my students in my English class, most of them were from Saudi Arabia at the time, they said, and what qualifies you to teach us English? And I said, I speak it better than you. So that was it. That cleared it up, and we went on. My German stuck with me from my junior year abroad because I wasn't really teaching German when I was an elementary school principal. And other modern languages that are here at SVSU, there's many. Okay, sorry guys, here comes another one. Reminds me of a story of a Mexican magician. He covered himself with a blanket and he counted, unos, dos, and then he disappeared without a trace. And then here on the side is a tattoo, okay? And I saw the picture on somebody's arm, and Louise helped me write it out on paper, and I didn't want to get the tattoo on my arm, so I just taped it there. But anyway, the story is that a person came along, and they looked at it, and they said, wow, that's a great tattoo. What does it say? And he goes, I don't know. I don't speak Chinese. That's exactly what it says. All right, so humans are a way that we contact one another. And what's the most important word in any language? The person's name. And here at Saginaw Valley, who else is making a difference? Who else are we connecting the world together with? Our athletes, especially soccer, swimming, tennis, track, hockey, but other sports as well. We've had individuals. This happens to be a picture of the swim team. Good group of students, all of them. And then we have our International Student Club. Our International Student Club helps to connect. This particular picture is unique because this was an online reunion. This wasn't at the club meeting. These were students who had come and gone home. And I think it was Usman down here in the corner. I point here, you can't see me pointing up here. But I don't have the mouse either. Anyway, there we go, Usman. He set it up from all these students all over the world. I want to say, I don't know, Dominican Republic, anyway, yep, all over. The club itself meets every week on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock at night, because we don't have classes then. After announcements, we do a country presentation, a different country each week. We play games, and then best part of the club meeting is they stay around afterwards and chill and talk and enjoy it. And there's students from the United States as well, a great variety of countries. And we have our International Food Festival. Did any of you get to go to the International Food Festival? Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. And we participate in the homecoming parade. Some years we've had floats, but some years we just carry our flags, and it's obvious we are the International Student Club. And we have our intercultural night, and that's already scheduled for March next semester. We hope that'll be as entertaining as always. And during our club meetings, we do the country presentations that I mentioned, and we learn a lot about each other's countries. And we go to celebrations, Halloween, Holy, Christmas, I guess that is, yeah, a lot of different things. All of those are ways that we connect. And community service. The students really like, one of the biggest ones, which you see here, is the Children's Museum, the Mid-Michigan Children's Museum, but we've also done volunteer work with the Japanese Tea House, the Children's Zoo, the East Side Soup Kitchen, Habitat for Humanity, and some of the days of service that our Student Life program sets up. And that's very meaningful to the students. And we have a group called International Community Friends. Heather, that you see here in the picture with Han Wool from South Korea, Heather has been our main stay, especially with students from Pakistan, but we don't have any from Pakistan, so Han Wool said he would fill in from South Korea. And so he is, but we have, I think, 20-some students that Eden has helped to match up with for this semester with families. And who else is out there that's making a difference? The Gerstacker Fellows. Like I said, they just had their symposium, and they presented a lot of what they did and where they visited and the schools they visited. This particular picture was at the U.S. Air Force Base in Katterbach, just outside of Ansbach, where they have is a helicopter base. And the Roberts Gilbertson Fellowship. I had the good fortune of being able to travel with both groups. Just tagged along, if you will, and enjoyed it. Let's see what happens here. This is in Hiroshima. No man is an island, entire of itself. I had a hard time getting through this there, too. I read this aloud when we were on the site. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manor of thy friends or of thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind. Therefore, never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. From, of course, the poem of John Donne. And also at Hiroshima, what these are in the middle there, are peace crane chains. So over on the table, I made one. Got together with a friend who also folds origami and sewed them together. And so, but this is a whole showcase full of them. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that our Office of International Programs helps us to connect. And our director helps us to correct. And this is in the Year of the Dragon. So you see all these little plastic things on her shelf. I think, does that say dragon? Yeah. And these were made by a friend of mine, actually the same one who helped me fold the origami ones on his 3D printer. So Alice has those on display at her office. But she's been reaching out, as evidenced by the book that many of you have seen now. She's been reaching out in all different ways to try and connect all of our offices at SVSU globally. And then we have our partnership programs. Louise is actually still in the picture. We didn't take you out, Louise, even though you got to retire. Okay, and our study abroad program, where American students get to go somewhere else. The student in the middle there with the kangaroo is actually in my German class, but she didn't go to Germany. She went to Australia, go figure. My favorite picture from the study abroad, and they always have a photo contest, is this diving underwater with the sea turtles. I love that one. And we have Fulbright scholars that come here. Dr. Youssef Asghari from the Netherlands, and his book is over there if anyone wants to look at it, if you can read Dutch. Okay, Boom was wies. So what he does is he turns this image different ways to talk about how people have different perspectives. And one way it looks like a tree, and one way it looks like a vase, and another way it looks like a fish. And we have sister city programs, not just partnership programs, but also nearby. Ansbach and Saginaw has Tokushima. Ansbach is Bay City's sister city. Gunzenhausen is Frankenmuth's. And this was actually in Germany where they set up how far it was to different places. And I guess I didn't catch it. It says Bay City up there at the very top that's cut off. Okay, I got to tell you a couple emotional things before we close here. One is when I was in Berlin. I went to buy some postcards here by the Brandenburg Gate at the souvenir shop. And I had to tell the clerk, I said, when I was here in 1965, Berlin was a divided city. And now it's just a big, busy city, altogether free to walk through Checkpoint Charlie and anywhere else you want to go around there. And really enjoyed my visit there. But I just felt I had to share that story with someone, and I'm sure the clerk wasn't even alive then. But and then finally, my family story. So my wife discovered about 25 years ago that she had a brother in Panama who she did not know about. Her father was in the army in Panama and then got shipped off to Germany and was actually in a prisoner of war camp while he was in Germany. And so this gentleman here, Enrique, had never met his father and didn't get a chance to, but he did get to meet Ruth and his family that was here. Doesn't that sound like something that would be in Reader's Digest or something? So finally now it's your turn to join me. I'd like you to sing along with me. And it'll be Let There Be Peace on Earth. Whoops, let's go back. Oh, you know what? Somebody told me this is a touch screen.
So right when I thought Mom would start taking it easy with her osteoporosis, boom, we moved to this cool new place in the city.
There we go. Okay, please sing along.
That was meant to
Now I'd like to turn it over to some other people that have made a difference, and they're going to tell you about their projects. We'll have let Alice introduce our panel here.
So now I suggest we stand up and give a big round of applause to Pat. Thank you so much for your 20 years service and great contributions to SVSU. And one thing I want to add that Pat forgot to mention. So when I started my job, Pat kept telling me, do you know I have another job? That is to deliver the mail to every office every day. And I said, Alice, you know, this is part of my job. I do that in order to meet people, to get connected. So thank you so much for your service. Okay. So in February 2025, I attended the AIEA, Association of International Education Administrators Conference in Houston, Texas, and encountered this book entitled Global Engagement, offered by the conference sponsor, University of Texas at Austin. So this encounter gave me a spark and a calling for compiling a similar book for SVSU, because I was so impressed by the long-term partnership and commitment to global engagement of SVSU. And I know there are so many stories to tell on this campus. So we started a project in June 2025, this summer, and hired a very talented graphic design intern, Kylie Clark, to help with the project. And after 5 months, we got this beautiful publication in our hand. And we sent invitation to maybe more than 60 faculty, staff, and students, and more than 40 contributed to the book. And it's really a teamwork. So I want to thank every author, contributor, University Communication Office, thank you, JJ, and the Graphics Center staff for your contribution and support. I also want to thank Kylie for her tremendous contributions to this book. And she designed the book, you know, included beautiful photos. So we had a lot of meetings together, and I'm glad that we have it now. But I believe that this is just the beginning. And the next step, we plan to create an internationalization hub platform, an online platform to showcase our global engagement. So we'll continue to tell SVSU's global engagement stories. Now it's my honor to introduce our 3 authors of the book to you, also our panelists today. And I want to invite you come here. I'll introduce each of you, and then you all have a PowerPoint, so we'll share separately. And then we have some time for questions and discussions. So our first panelist, Dr. Joseph Alfred Dankwa, is the HR Wicks Endowed Professor in International Business at Saginaw Valley State University. He holds a law degree from the University of Ghana, a master's degree in management and technology from the University of Wales, and a master and doctorate in organizational behavior from Michigan State University. He created the diverse similarity concept, offered diversity workshops, implemented the BATS project, that is business, art, theater, and sociology, and was part of the leadership team for YALI, that is Young African Leadership Institute, a State Department's African Leadership Initiative in Ghana. Dr. Dankwa also made contributions to the international partnership with Pentecost University in Ghana and the sister city relationship between Saginaw and Amanokrom in Ghana. And he has won several awards, including the 2020 State of Michigan's Distinguished Professor Award. Thank you for participation. Okay. Our next panelist, Dr. Jennifer Ward is an assistant professor of special education at Second Valley State University. She received her EDD in 2021 from the University of San Francisco, where she explored and documented the lived experiences of disabled refugees through the lenses of human rights, critical refugee studies, and disability justice. Prior to beginning her career in higher education, Jennifer was a special education teacher of deaf, hard of hearing studies in the Midwest and Southwest, including the Phoenix area and Southern California. She has also lived and taught internationally. Thank you, Jennifer, for your participation. And our third panelist, Professor Michael Crawford, is an award-winning graphic designer and illustrator with more than 35 years of experience shaping visual communication across industry and educational arenas. His career spans advertising agency, art direction, brand development in manufacturing, and strategic creative leadership in his entrepreneurial venture as the principal of Crawford Creative Group, LLC. In addition, for over 2 decades, Mr. Crawford has taught marketing and graphic communications, providing immersive learning experiences that take students beyond the classroom and into real-world creative environments. His SBSU adjunct work includes a strong commitment to visual storytelling, innovation, consistent professional craftsmanship, where he regularly mentors emerging creatives, ultimately elevating a student's awareness of place and appreciation of culture. Thank you. Thank you for your participation. So now I'll give time to Professor Dang Kwar to share his experience.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to share some thoughts with you. I'm glad that I've been given 3 hours to but first and foremost, I want to say a special thank you to Pat. Over the years, I have sent several students, international students, Ghanaian students, students from Tanzania, Kenya, sent them to him. And every time, this man there had time to meet with them, talk with them, and help them to solve the problems that they had. And so you are what care is about. And we thank you for all that you have done. Please, let's give him a big hand of applause. Amazing, amazing. So I wanted to share a few thoughts about this beautiful country, Ghana. Of course, I'm totally not biased. But a couple of years ago, I think it was about 2012, we had some students, Dr. Mimi Thorne and I sent some students to Ghana. And so when I had the opportunity to have our visitor students in 2025 go to Ghana, I shared with them the presentation that the team that went to Ghana in 2012 did. And so we went with about 10 students at that time, and 3 of them, Shea Beverly, Colin Oil, and Janora Walker, did this presentation. 2012. I had a little more hair at that time. All right. In Ghana, Yemawachi, that's good morning. And everywhere you will be hearing the words Akwaba, welcome, welcoming you. These three very talented students that put this presentation together, Shea, Beverly, Colin Oil, Janora Walker, they all have graduated and are all in very, very senior positions. So for example, Colin Oil right now is a senior accountant with the Treasury in the state of Michigan. So this is what they did. They showed why they participated in the study abroad program, their expectations before they went, some of the activities that they had, some differences and similarities that they experienced. I had been very, very big on this thing about diverse similarity, that we should be concurrently viewing both differences and similarities at the same time. And then they shared some lessons, and then they had some additional pictures at the very end that I will share with you. Very mysterious pictures at the end. So why did they participate? Cher said she wanted to use it to facilitate, to be more open-minded and to connect with her heritage. Colin wanted to learn more about diversity from a different perspective, and had been to Europe and wanted also to look at a different background. Janora wanted to gain a perspective about life and future goals, and then to experience the adventure of a lifetime. Expectations, she expected an undeveloped city. She wanted to see if there were chickens in different parts of the city, and then she expected substandard living quarters. Colin thought less urbanized, few cars, less traffic, street markets. Janora thought that that she was going to experience a culture shock, that the roads would be less developed, transportation less developed. So some of the things that they saw, we took them to this church service, and they attended a church service. We went to the beach. We attended several lectures at the Pentecost University. At that time, it was a university college. It now is a university on its own. If you want to think of a mega church, this is a very good example. There you can see Dr. Thorns and Colin Orleans. This is the church at that time. It was being put together. Now it's all well constructed. There's a beach dancing video that I was involved in, and so in this day and age of videos going viral, I terminated it. That's okay. Some of the activities, we visited Karma College, the Karma group of companies, and this man, an amazing man, Dr. Mike Addo, came to Saginaw Valley State University 2012, invited Dr. Gilbertson to Ghana. He was then the board chair, the board of control, their chair, and then he had set up this Karma group of companies with pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, medical, conference services. He was into everything. He is who I call a serial entrepreneur. There you can see him showing us around. And then we traveled to Cape Coast. There was this canopy walk. It's amazing as they go across the canopy walk. Several of them remember that they are religious and they start saying prayers. This is the canopy walk, and you can imagine as you're going, it's kind of swinging and so on. And yes. But this is where leadership is all about delegation. And so you delegate, you don't. No. I actually did go. Then there was a couple from the Netherlands who had set up this monkey sanctuary, just an amazing project. Then the castle, the slave castles, and you go into those dungeons, and it's the dungeons where these slaves were stacked like sardines, waiting to be transported. Yes, the dungeons. And just to draw it in, all of that you see there that has solidified is feces all over the years, that has, the dungeons. And that was a very powerful experience for us, for our students and for all of those who went. The slave castle, and then some other activities that we did. We went to the Royal Seed Orphanage. I have had a very long, probably 20, 30 years relationship with this Royal Seed Orphanage. Just an amazing, a young lady whose father abandoned her, and so she just took this upon herself, saying that she would never ever let other children be without love. And she's done just an amazing work at the orphanage. Part of what we did was cultural immersion. So we got all the students who went, got them into African clothing and taught them how to dance, and then they did a dance for the orphans. And so you can see all of them right over there in the African attire with the dancing. I'm so tempted with a drum here to just go straight and beat it, but time is of the essence. And so, I must move on. And then we had all sorts of things put together for the orphanage. Some things that they saw were different, some differences. Fresh juice, eggs fresh. Ghana tends to be highly religious, very, very patriotic, high voting numbers relatively, lack of infrastructure, as you can see. Some similarities, there's a very strong desire for education. Students are looking for study abroad opportunities. There's a very high level of entrepreneurship. And some major insights. They were amazed by some of the things that the students at the Pentecost University College had done. So, for example, they had been able to fundraise to get the bus that we were standing in front of them. They also saw Ghana as highly developing, rapidly developing. There's business everywhere, and Ghanaians are very, very passionate and very hardworking people. Some lessons about leadership. Just do it. Be open to try. Collins said leadership is just trying. And then Janora also said, don't focus only on the differences. There are so many similarities as well. And so at the end, they said Medase. And then I had mentioned the mysterious picture that they put at the very end. We had to drive quite a few places, and this was them sleeping. And when they showed it, I laughed very well. And then they showed this, and then I laughed very well. And then they showed this, and I thought it wasn't funny. All right, so that was 2012, and I'm very, very appreciative of Dr. Thorns, who was very helpful in organizing. Fast forward 2025, and these were with the Viditus, and we went to Ghana, we went all over again, but one of the things that we did, and I'm trying to check and see how much time that I have and if I'm okay. All right, I had shared that in Ghana, if you want someone to stop, you should be doing this. But I didn't say to her that this means you should keep going on. So, all right. So 2025, we did a conference of youth leaders with our Vidito fellows in Ghana. We were very privileged. The man in the middle is Dr. Amwaku Hene, the equivalent of the governor of a state. He's the regional minister, and we had a very good presentation with him. At the very back is Nana Kwame. In 2012, we had sent him, he had come with us, and then 2025, he was with us also. This time, he's now an accountant with his own company, own accounting company. And then we went with Dr. Cox, and then Dr. Michael Del Vecchio, and some things, food that they ate, pizza. So you can see there's pizza outside. Well, we had pizza in Ghana. This tree is over 100 and something years old. It's just amazing. It's right before the palace of the king. We were very fortunate to be able to see the king. And one of the things that are unique is the kente cloth that is hand woven. And that's one of our students with that. And so I think that is the end, and I'm seeing that. Thank you.
We'll see if we have time at the end. Second panel. Thank you.
I have to start by saying I don't have any jokes prepared, and I don't have dad jokes, so I hope I can keep you as engaged as the previous speakers. Okay, I think we got it. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Ward. I'm an assistant professor of teacher education in the College of Education, and I mostly teach courses in special education and in inclusive education, and I'm very happy to have been asked to share my experiences with you today. And I just kind of wanted to start out by saying I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I don't know when I really became interested in international education. It just kind of evolved that way as I gained more experiences in travel. And so then I found a way to put my passion for teaching and my passion for travel together. I didn't grow up traveling. I didn't really have a chance to travel until I was after graduate school, and I was already teaching. And I decided to move to Japan. And I planned to stay for 1 year. I stayed for 8. And that was really a pivotal moment in my my career and in really understanding where I am, my place in this world, perspective taking, and that just kind of sparked the rest of my education choices and my career choices. after that. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Fulbright program, Alice asked me to share my experiences a little bit with the Fulbright Specialist Program, which are, as opposed to semester-long or year-long scholarship projects, they are short-term, project-based, more focusing on collaboration between the host institution and U.S. professionals. And the focus is really on the capacity building, this mutual collaboration. So I was fortunate to be able to participate in 2 Fulbright specialist projects, one in Greece and one in Morocco. So I just want to share a little bit about my experiences with those projects. In 2022, I was invited to the University of Ioannina in northern Greece. And while I was there, I mostly taught some undergraduate courses on special education and inclusive education, but that experience has led to ongoing collaboration with my host professor there. We have been in contact since then about research projects, about authoring a book, and also while I was there, as Alice mentioned, my background is in teaching deaf and hard of hearing students. I was able to visit a school for the deaf in Athens, and that was a really interesting and fun experience for me. I had the opportunity to meet with the teachers, to meet with the students, and really see a lot of similarities in the challenges that they face in education that we are also facing in the United States. And I remember one of the teachers there said to me, I thought the United States had it all figured out as far as education. And so we kind of were able to commiserate together a little bit in some of that. And then just this past April, I visited Qadi Yayad University in Marrakesh, Morocco, and I was there for 2 weeks. And while I was there, I led some student workshops, undergraduate student workshops for future teachers. I participated in this panel on inclusive and special education with some other local educators, and I visited some schools and was able to meet with some other faculty. One of the most memorable experiences I had at this university was at this panel. It was a Friday afternoon, and it was in a room maybe twice the size of this, and it ended up being standing room only. And almost all of them were students, undergraduate students who were there. And I asked my host professor, are they required to be here? Are they getting extra credit? They were all there voluntarily. They had all given up their Friday afternoon. Over 100 students had come, and I thought that would never happen here. But it was really touching, and we actually had to cut off the questions because the conversation was so engaging and their questions were so insightful. And I told them that. I said, because one of the students asked, is this even possible? Is inclusive education even possible? And I said, the fact that you're here voluntarily on a Friday afternoon, you're starting the conversation, you're starting the work right here. And so that was just one of the best experiences among many that I had when I was in Morocco. This is one of the classes that I taught. So they're quite large, about 50 students each. But a few of the lessons that I've learned from both of these experiences, while many of the experiences I had were similar, I really learned some cultural humility, and they really emphasized to me that co-creation is so important, this co-collaboration. We hear about white saviorism or the Americans coming in with our perspective, and you really have to step back and understand that we have to work within their cultural context. We have to work within what resources are available to them. And one student kind of pushed back a little bit on some of what I was saying and saying that seemed like a very American perspective on inclusive education. And I appreciated him saying that because we had a deeper conversation then around how inclusion is really a global issue and how barriers to education exist around the world for so many students, not just students with disabilities, but students from all different identities. And these students, again, were so engaging. Every time I planned way more than we got through because they just had questions and conversation and dialogue. And it was just really phenomenal. But I really stood out to me that I could not come in with the solutions. We had to do some collaborative problem solving and co-create the solutions to the challenges that they're experiencing. it also reminded me that education is really deeply human work. It's about building those relationships. And one of my goals for going both to Greece and Morocco and some of the other work I do is not just to go there and do it and leave, but to continue to build these relationships. And I'm happy to say that most of these experiences have resulted in continued collaboration, continued experiences, continued conversation, because that's really important to me. And having the mindset to be willing to go and teach, but also to learn. And these experiences have really shaped who I am as a person and who I am as an educator. Oh, let me try this one. Uh-oh. I touched something and I don't know what I did. Let me try that. Okay, well there we go. So those were my Fulbright experiences. Beyond that, though, I have done and I'm continuing to do other work. This past summer, I was in Nairobi, Kenya, at an international conference, and these youth were not part of the conference. They happened to be at another conference at the same venue we were at, and they stopped me to talk to me. They're youth leaders in their universities, and they are very interested. None of them are in education. None of them are in any field related to disability, but they asked me how can they be more mindful of supporting people with disabilities in their communities. So we have had ongoing conversations. They are hosting a conference in December. They invited me to be a keynote. I'm not able to go back to Kenya, but I'm going to do it virtually in December. Another thing that stood out to me is that recognizing, like I mentioned in Greece, we all have these shared challenges in education. And how are we teaching students who learn differently with diverse learning needs? How are we supporting the teachers who are doing this work? And how are we making education more equitable? It doesn't matter which country we're in or which professionals I've been talking to in different countries, we all share those same challenges. We have those challenges here in the United States as well. But also what I've realized is that every country is approaching these challenges in ways that are shaped by their culture, by their community, and seeing the way they approach challenges and these conversations around collaborative problem solving has really helped me broaden my own thinking and become a more reflective practitioner in my own work here at SVSU. So this is just some of the countries that I've done some work in and am continuing to do work in. I'm hopefully leading a faculty-led study abroad trip to the Netherlands in May, focusing on peace and human rights education. Last year, I had the opportunity to visit Chengdu Normal University and stay for a month and teach there, which is SVSU's partner university in China. Last summer, I went to Panama and participated in a international special education conference. And right now I'm co-planning. I'm a co-chair for the same conference that will be held in Peru next summer. So some of this work is done in person. Some of this work is done virtually. So here's just a picture of, if you know Dr. Lively from the College of Education. We spent a month together in China. In Panama, we did school visits, met with local educators of students with disabilities, and were able to have conversations around the work that they're doing there. And, you know, this is from Kenya at our opening reception with some of our local partnerships. So my question is, why does international education matter? It's more than just traveling and getting to be experiencing different cultures. Dean Tar can attest to my love of food, and my favorite thing to do when I travel is try some of the local foods, including sheep's brain in Morocco, which I don't recommend, but I did try it. But really, it ties everything to a larger purpose. It transforms us as individuals. It transforms us as educators. It transforms the communities, and it's really an essential part of education today. With the way that we are so much more interconnected globally than we used to be, social media, everything right at our fingertips, we see how we better understand our place in the world. And it's important to give our students opportunities to understand that and to see that as well. As I said, these experiences have changed just not how I teach, but how I view education itself. It's there's not just one approach to any of these problems or to education itself. There's not one way that has all the answers. We do not have all the answers in the United States by any means. And I have learned a lot from countries that tend to be under-resourced, where the teachers don't have resources, don't have the training that we do, but they are so resilient and resourceful that every time I come away having grown as a person and as an educator. And I try to bring these perspectives to my students. They tell me anyway, maybe they're just trying to be nice, but they tell me that they really enjoy when I can share these experiences with them, because some of them are from small communities where they don't really think that they might have these opportunities. And I grew up in an area in Minnesota similar to the Saginaw area. I never thought that my life would take me to all of these places. But I tell my students this because if they're interested in it, they can. You never know where life is going to take you. But I encourage my students to think globally, to consider diverse perspectives, and to see that we all in education should have equity and inclusion as universal shared goals. And even if you don't have a passport or don't have the funds to travel, there are virtual opportunities. Some of the work I do is virtual. There are opportunities for students to do virtual exchanges. I was recently at a Fulbright conference in Miami, and I met with a teacher from Louisiana she teaches elementary STEM, science and technology, and she is partnering with a school, I believe, in Brazil. So her students are working together to learn about each other's cultures, to learn about STEM education together, and I think they're focusing on robotics. So there's opportunities even if you aren't able to physically to travel. This was my host professor in Morocco, and this was somebody's house. She brought me to this party, and they had a live band in their house. But I just kind of want to end on these thoughts that education is most powerful when it's shared. I, as an educator, consider myself to be a lifelong learner, and these opportunities have just taught me more than I could ever imagine, again, about myself and who I am as an educator and my place in the world. So if you're considering any type of international engagement or exchange, whether it be through Fulbright, virtual exchanges, study abroad, I strongly encourage you to do so. It's been life-changing for me. And the last thing I want to say is when I travel, I almost always know somebody in the countries I'm going to that aren't even necessarily from there, but my mom always says, you have friends all over the world, everywhere you go, and it really is true. This summer I went to Dubai on my way to Kenya, and I met up with a friend who's from Tunisia, who I met when I lived in Japan, who now lives in Dubai. And that kind of thing happens to me quite often because of these connections I've made, so they've just really had a powerful impact on me as a person and as an educator. So thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this today.
I apologize for the time, as Dr. Duncan said, 3 days.
Thank you again for the invitation to present today. In the book that we all have, that's a beautiful publication, I did submit for the Peace Project, which is a student project-led piece that we do here at SVSU in exchange with the Atomic Bomb and Peace Museum in Nagasaki, Japan. And it all really started with trips and seeing the world as others see it. And this is a piece that I have in my office, my home studio that I often look at. It says, be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And it is a mantra that I live by, I educate others by, and to really become a problem solver and to truly go beyond plan A, because it's so overrated, and to really have multiple solutions. And I think international travel, the immersion experience, interdependent on the size and the length of the time, it really changes people and their perspectives and their ability to problem solve, because many times they're challenged by language and culture, those barriers that are there for them that they might not be able to understand. Many of our travels throughout Japan involved going to sacred places, temples, prayer gardens, and often throughout the experience, we saw something like this, which was wires or strings with tied notes on them. And these were prayers, they were wishes, they were dreams of people, and they were left for someone to hopefully get that as a gift, what they might want. And my approach to this program of work for the Peace Project started in a field, and this is a picture of that. It's a grassy field with some weeds or flowers, I would call them. And if you look closely to this picture, there's a gray line that's horizontal, and then also one that's kind of at an angle. And as I was walking through the field with students, this was a student trip, I knelt down and felt the ground, and I realized there was a difference there, a little bit of a rubble stone, and this is what remains of a city. Those are foundations. And as you continue to walk through, there's several beautiful sculptures. This is one made of steel, lasered out, I'm almost certain, some type of fabrication, but how unique it was to walk through it in its movement that was there. Very beautiful. And sculptural pieces. This is of a little girl that we'll see in just a moment. And capstoning it as you came through this field at the end, it kind of felt like we were walking through a channel. And there's another sculpture here pointing to the skies. And on either side of it, thousands of paper cranes, thousands. And they're all different colors, very dynamic. So taking all this in, and maybe not knowing the language totally, students were in awe. We went down 2 stories to ground zero. Cathedral, possibly. Glass, several layers and shelves of notes of survivors. And then the museum. Special note is this photograph. This is 2 days before the bombing in Nagasaki. This is after. One more time, please. That's a river, houses, businesses, schools. The devastation was horrific. Art that was created by survivors. There's a sculpture in Italy that has Mary and Jesus, and if you look in the middle, that's their rendition of survivors that had maybe had fallen people and their families, neighbors. One of the worst parts of this whole ordeal is children. And these are all homeless children that had lost parents, grandparents, families were broken. And Sadako Sasaki is a student of the world, born and 2 years old when the atomic bomb hit Hiroshima. Her family's home was a mile from center there, from zero, ground zero. And her parents, father was out of town, uncles and aunts, grandma and grandpas passed away, were brutally maimed from the bombing there, and continued to have the fallout sickness from the nuclear holocaust that they suffered. And yet she came out as a 2-year-old and appeared to be not scathed at all. and until she turned 12. And, sorry. She came down with leukemia that it's largely believed that it was from the fallout. And when her father visited her in the hospital, she had shown him a crane that she had gotten from someone. And she wanted to know what it was about. And he said, in our culture, the crane is for good luck. And she was remaining positive and started folding cranes. And it was understood that if you got to 1,000, your wish would come true. She got to 1,000 and it didn't. She continued to fold and made 1,300 and passed away. 1955, this is 2025, 80 years later. Thousands, millions of cranes have been delivered to both Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And it starts with this child who became an emblem of peace. After going through the museum, it was very heavy for everybody. And we folded cranes. So, these experiences are real, and they are human. And we decided we needed to do something, maybe not fold cranes, but in respect for what transpired. Coming back to Saginaw, we have a jewel. If you have not visited the Japanese Cultural Center, do it. It's beautiful. And knowing firsthand of several tea ceremonies I've been at, it's genuine. And it's wonderful people that we made connections with here locally. And we decided to do buttons. Students produced and have produced several hundred designs. We've delivered several thousand buttons to the Atomic Bomb and Peace Museum. And through the process, it's student-led, directed, voted on. The final designs that you see if you go into Arbory here on campus, we have a display in the window. Our new set is just being finished. And again, these are gifts to students there, because when we were at the museum, we noticed that students would come in with their backpacks, and generally there is a dress code for several schools there. Part of their educational process as elementary students is to understand their history, all of it. And part of that is going to an atomic bomb and peace museum. So our goal was to gift them some peace. And you see the staff here on the other side of the ocean. Some very courageous people. And our setup, you can see these badges with messages of peace were made by students at Saginaw Valley. Please be careful, because there is a pin on the back of each badge. And we even got a comment on our last batch that some of the pin backs were a little bit off. We want to make sure for safety. And here are some of our target market. We were looking at these elementary students and younger. And here is the gang, part of our group, and they even have a video here. I don't know if it's going to play or not. Let's see. Is my volume up? they said, thank you very much. And so it also transcended into younger children, into older children and even into high school groups that visited. Our high school group that visits over the summer, in July, we exchanged with them as well. And it's just been a really positive thing to have students create something for someone they'll never meet. Thank you very much.
So please give our panelists another round of applause. Each story is so beautiful, so touching. I wish we had more time to share. I think this is beginning. We'll continue this practice, invite more faculty, staff, and students to share their stories. World peace, that is our ultimate goal for international education in the cultural understanding. So thank you very much for your participation. And the International Education Week highlights our shared commitments to global learning, intercultural understanding, and student success. And global engagement allows our university to prepare students for a rapidly changing world while remaining deeply connected to our regional community. So thank you again for your distinguished keynote speaker and panelists for your contributions today. And we will continue our campus internationalization and implement our new 5-year strategic plan to continue to advance our international education on campus. And we'll keep going. Go SBSU. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your attendance today. And we maybe still have some food outside. But one announcement, Cal Spencer, our study abroad coordinator, is organizing an event for faculties to learn how to design a faculty-led study abroad programs, and we'll have a lunch next Friday. So maybe encourage everyone to participate. Thank you so much. Thank you.